And then Lorenzo, lead us in when you're ready.
Hi, hello everybody. Yeah, how do I share my screen?
Let me give you permission.
Okay. Yeah, well, anyway, this image I'm going to present to you is quite rich. It has a lot of detail. So, so I will show it, I will show the whole of it to you. We can go and make a couple of rounds. Share screen, here we are. Okay. And I'm trying to change the accessibility of my computer. Just a moment, please.
You guys had to sit there for a minute while I played with mine last few days ago, so take your time, Lorenzo. PowerPoint was not cooperating.
I have to quit and reopen Skype. I'll be back in a few moments. Okay, sorry.
How's everybody else doing? These are the diehards who came for this session.
I'm so excited because I haven't got a clue about what to expect.
Me neither.
But coming from a Lorenzo, I think I guess it must be interesting.
That's for sure.
Okay.
That was quick.
You should give me permission once again, sorry. Okay. Okay. Can you see?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I'm going to let me see if I can zoom. Yeah. Okay, I will zoom a little bit now. You can still see the whole of the image, even if the details are maybe a little small. And then after we do a couple of rounds, I will zoom in, and so we have rounds on singular parts of this image. Okay. And maybe after around, I don't know, after half an hour, 40 minutes or so, I can give you more information. We can leave the Goethean approach, and I can give you some information about the image. But please, I don't know, how do you want to proceed with turns? Whoever wants to start, say something is welcome.
Just out of the blue, I'll just say something about my first impression, if that's appropriate right now.
Please.
Yeah, very first impression is I kind of have an aversion to looking at this. It's a little bit surprising to me. I don't have aversion to exploring and looking at things, but just the amount of, as you say, Lorenzo, the rich detail and everything, I guess I'm not in a well-rested state of mind that wants to look at a lot of rich detail right now.
Okay, I hope when we zoom in, maybe this impression fades away. I don't know, is something that is occurring to others too?
I can't help it. Notice the tetromorph, the lion, bull, eagle, and the man around the four corners. Which drenches it in symbolic meaning, which kind of
Well, it immediately brings, of course, the tarot deck and the four beasts of the four beings of the apocalypse on the four corners. So it's a new version of quite a recurring occult set. So it'll be interesting to see who did this and the context.
I have this deck, but I think having the image enlarged this way, I'm seeing more than I have seen before. Like I don't think I ever really recognized that it looks like, at least to me, this triune, this sort of organic triune shape behind the dancing figure and the serpent. So that's something that's striking me.
Yeah, it's a topological surface.
I'm struck by lots and lots of things, but I'm going to choose. It's like one. Is the stars actually dancing around? It's like the stars that are on the inside of this like truncated cylinder, and especially interesting in the context of what we were talking about on Tuesday, in the sense of sort of the stars as a macrocosm, and it's like we're trying to find that microcosm within ourselves. But there's so much going on there. But if I chose one that is particularly pertinent to where I am in my thinking at the moment, I think I'll choose the stars.
I do wonder if the eye and the serpent is in some ways symbolizing the Ophiuchus and the what's thought to be a black hole at the center of the galaxy, to use a astrophysical concept that might not be real.
I'm also struck by the gold. Just that's like the tone, the quality is like it's a the gold going over into the brown. It's a calming. I experience it as a calming color. So like it's got light in it, but it's not a searing light. It's comfortable.
At the bottom, I can't tell if it almost looks like a house shape, but it could also be the patterns of a circuit or something. These angular lines starting at a point and moving down, ramifying. Not sure what's going on down there.
I saw that as factories and technology, and it's like strict line thinking.
Well, on that same note, the starry sphere is full of circuits and wires, and so it's been technologized too.
I'm trying to understand what this figure holds in her right hand. If it's some sort of what's the English word? Is it cite?
A scythe, yeah.
Yeah. It looks like that, but
Also like a hook
a hook could be, yeah.
or fishing, a fish hook.
Reminds me. Sorry, go on, Lorenzo.
No, go ahead, please, Angus.
I hadn't noticed that detail, but when Alex pointed it out, I went to the thorn of Paul. the thorn of materialism. It's like the thorn that's in all of us.
My response is quieted down, and I'm seeing the big form of the, as to our lecture series, the spherical form, this great circle in the middle, and this kind of radial striking motion that you would get from a serpent.
What about that kind of grid in the, you called it cylindrical shape or whatever it is, this grid that Rosemary said is electrified somehow. Do you perceive it as having a regular and constant curvature? That is it all coming towards us, towards the looking eye, or do you perceive it differently, like in the top part? Doesn't it go behind those kind of rainbows that come out of the eye? Do you get that same impression that I have, that there is a change of curvature in the upper left part of that grid?
I think I see what you mean. It's like an inverted perspective.
Yeah, here on the right, we can see that the grid is coming above and covering the wings of the cherubim, while on the left side, you can see that the grid kind of, from being on the front of the wing of the eagle, it goes behind it, and just as this rainbow on the right part of the eye is at the same level of the grid, you can see that the grid is like mounted on that rainbow. On the other side, you can see that it actually slips behind it.
Talk about perspective. There's also this confusion about whether I'm looking from above down onto something or whether I'm looking from underneath upwards. It's like a clear orientation in that sense.
What you see, what we are looking out of, that is, do you see the shape that our frame?
So, it could certainly be interpreted as an eye.
Yeah, it's the same shape of that eye that we see there, isn't it? With a different orientation. They're like 45 degrees of Okay, maybe if you want, I can zoom in some parts. I can zoom, I don't know, we can zoom first the lower part of the card. This is a very high resolution image, so maybe some of you know this deck, but have never seen such details, because actually it is a paint. Even if it's a tarot card, it comes from a painting that's almost 1 meter by 2.
Oh, okay. Looking now at that sort of house factory circuit shape, seems that there's 3 pyramids behind it.
Yeah.
Yeah, when I my first impression of that shape is of some kind of temple, or it was initially. I still sort of have that impression. I'm also there's I think 12th century, somewhere around there, maybe 11th century mystic Hildegard has some illuminated images with these sorts of creatures as well. I know it's a very typical, I guess, esoteric, apocalyptic imagery, but the breath or the wind coming out of the creatures is interesting.
Yeah. You see
Interesting
that
you call it breath, Ashton, because for me it was water.
That makes
Yeah.
sense. I
No,
think
no,
I
I'm
call it,
not saying I'm not saying I'm right. I'm just like saying
yeah,
it's yeah.
yeah. I call it wind or breath. I think because of what I am familiar with in other images like it, like in Hildegard's.
sorry. And do you notice how straight? I mean, if it's air or water, looks strange because it has it is
Like light. It's like rays of light almost, isn't it?
oh, yeah, they could be. And also, have you noticed the difference in perspective once again? What is coming out of the nostrils of the bull is more symmetrical than what comes out of the nostrils of the lion. Not even the bull is perfectly symmetrical, but we can see that some kind of distortion with perspective is more active on the lion side, because there the angles that these streams of light or whatever are really asymmetrical.
Another thing that's drawing my attention is the eyes of the bull. They are it's like very different, and they look like the lock on the head of the on the lion.
Of the lion.
Oh,
Yeah.
right.
And you can see that the lock on the head of the lion is exactly at the same height as the right eye of the bull, and they are kind of reversed, so that it's like the curl of the lion pressed inside the mold, created that image of the like the depth is inverted, so you can see that the external part of the curl is more prominent than the center, and we can see the opposite is going on with the eye. Okay.
It's
Maybe
also very different soul characters. The the bull seems confused, while the lion is very focused.
yeah. We can maybe take a look at the other two cherubims. I will move the image up here. Yeah, they're upside down still. We can notice some things.
So to the left, for me, it looks like an eagle. Or at least definitely a bird.
And for me as well, and so obviously I'm thinking about the eagle bull and the eagle bull and the
Ox.
Lion.
the lion as well. You know, it's like the Sphinx and Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John is going on in there. It's like in the image of man.
Also, I think it looks like the snake is kind of growing out of this rather mechanical form. So it's like something that looks rather mechanical turns into something organical as it moves downwards, but I'm not sure, but it looks a bit like that.
Yeah, the only ray out of the eye that is not a rainbow is going straight into the tail of the serpent there.
And also I think about the activity of the eye. It's not a passive, say, receiving eye, but it's an active eye that is actually doing something into the space it's perceiving, if it's an eye.
Since we are looking at the eye, can I ask you what you see just right of the eye, in the middle of the image? We see that between each rainbow, we get glimpses of what's behind, but they are like glimpses of different moments of the night. So what's there in the sky is different. It's like we're looking, I don't know, maybe at the moon or somebody between the big ray without the rainbow and the first rainbow. Then what do you see between the first and the second rainbow there, just in the middle of the image? Maybe I can zoom a little more. Yeah, maybe it's not right for me to ask questions. I mean, we should go freely, but I wanted to point out, because it's coming to my attention, this thing, which is, I mean, I see Saturn here, very well hidden, and I see some sort of blue current that is coming out of it in this part.
When you say you see Saturn, do you mean the glyph, or do you mean a planet
No,
with rings?
I mean,
or what do you?
I mean, I see like in a lighter shade of blue, the planet itself, in a darker shade of blue, the rings. And yeah, maybe that's just me. I don't know if I can. One should imagine to complete this picture, but that's maybe just me. And another thing I'm looking at, since we were talking about the eyes of the cherubims, is that these two cherubims have still other very different expressions. The eagle is like void, or kind between the absent-minded and the cruel, and is looking directly into the camera, let's say. While on the other hand, the angel is like happy of having spotted something, and it's like looking at two slightly different points with his eyes.
It has sort of a childish, naive look to it.
Yeah.
Or ancient Egyptian.
I can go a little to the center.
It looks a bit like there's a planet in the center of the snake. I don't know.
You mean here?
No, further down.
Here?
Yeah, exactly.
That's a very interesting part of the picture. Maybe we could.
It gives me. I feel like that's some kind of seed, maybe, or it almost seems like a depiction of a fertilization, even. There's a verse in Genesis about something about being the serpent's head being stepped on, which is happening below, and also about Eve's and Adam's seed being put against each other or something. Does anyone remember? I can look up the verse. It's in the first few chapters of Genesis.
But I was also thinking about Steiner's concept of fertilization that he comes back to all the time in this interaction between this eye and the female figure and the snake in between, or involved somehow in the interaction.
And you've got these two elements coming into what, if that's an egg, you've got the rainbow effect, and then you've got this coarse, dark, metallic hook, as if both of those impulses are working into that area.
Can you see the Cassini curves?
Say that word again, Lorenzo.
The Cassini curves.
Ah, the Cassini curves. Uh-huh.
In the serpent.
You see, we get here half of a Cassini curve when the value equals 1 and you get the perfect lemniscate. Here you get another half in the opposite direction. While here you get the egg, which is the shape that half of the Cassini curve makes when the value is below 1. And you remember just in the last lecture, we saw that, maybe I can take it up anyway. If you remember, below the lemniscate, you get this family of curves that are egg-shaped. And you can see them here. Like the biggest black one is an egg, but you can see the colors. And by the way, the end of the lecture was about colors, isn't it? Was talking about the different positions of the peach blossom and the green. And anyway, yeah, you can see the rainbow here is structured as filling the surfaces of the Cassini curve family of value less than 1. While here and here we have the value 1.
And so currents of plasma or gold light, gold or fire, it's around this structure.
You mean these?
No, exactly not those bits. If the orange bits around the outside of that egg formation there, that at first I assumed that they were part of the snake, but when I look at them, they feel, yeah, they don't have that same quality actually as you see in the rest of the snake. Something else is going on there.
You can see this part of the snake looks like it's a piece of pasta, like it's cut. You know, like tagliatelle. Do you call tagliatelle tagliatelle? Yeah, maybe it's a very Italian image anyway. While and here too is a strange snake with a strange snake. I mean, snakes aren't usually done like that, isn't it? Looks like a piece of cluster that somebody cut out with a little knife. And do you see that it reminds of the grid? This texture of black and
Especially
yellow.
down. Yeah.
It's like the snake was stripped from the grid here. That left its mark on its skin.
As if it was coiled around that cylinder, before, got burnt with its with those markings on. Is that that's the idea?
Maybe, yeah. You see here, it's on the grid.
Yeah, one of the things I did notice about the image that sort of like was a little bit more confusing is how the stars are actually on top, both on top of the snake below there, but also in certain parts of the images above, because the cylinder seems to be behind the snake, but as often we see actually the stars actually where we wouldn't expect to see them. It's actually on the structure. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So how big are the stars and how big is the snake? What are the relative proportions of the objects we are looking at?
Can I say, I also think about this eye as somehow as something bridging the invisible and the visible. So it's like an activity of something invisible that kind of enters into the visible or perhaps physical universe.
Do you think the eye sees the girl?
The eye looks somehow creative, I think. It's a creative eye. It's a forceful eye. It's doing something more than it's actually seeing or perceiving.
Yeah, but does it also perceive everything that it is creating? I mean,
but perhaps all the rainbow figures is actually something receptive.
To me, it looks like the girl is using the snake to hide herself from the sight of the eye.
I was just at one point, just like 5 minutes ago, struck by this square behind her head that I hadn't noticed until, just like 5 minutes ago.
That blue-green background, I can't figure out what it is, but it looks like the top of a femur bone. That's one thing that it looks a lot like.
You mean this?
The whole blue-green background on which the thing rests. The central part rests.
Yeah. This shape here inside the green sphere.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I can see what you mean.
It looks like it should be continuous. and without any what is the name? Like if you have a square with two sides, then you will have that line where two sides meet.
Mm-hmm.
Well, this seems to be wholly continuous.
You mean crisps, maybe?
Mm,
No, okay. Yeah, but unlike the serpent, you mean that has a live angle.
yeah, it has no, yeah, it's one continuous surface.
I see another half lemniscate. Can you spot it? Maybe I will zoom in because it's well hidden.
Also some rays now coming out of that dark hole.
You mean these?
Yeah. This
Unlike rays, they are not straight.
right.
There's something there's a living quality about them for me. With that, but there's also something menacing as well. There's a menacing living quality about them for me.
You're talking about these outgrowths out of the seed. Is that what you mean?
Hmm.
Yeah, they kind of look like, you know, when a seed starts to sprout, or like a microorganism's like little arms.
Do you see the other half lemniscate? Or drop shape, we could call it.
I see a lot of them. Which one do you mean?
On the right side of the rainbow, where red should be, we see that red is kind of drained, and we get this big drop hidden behind the sickle or hook or whatever, like a drop of blood that it's spilling out of the rainbow. While on the other side, I see that green is present only up to here, where it is diverted to the sphere and gives the sphere its color. So once again, we have something that's relating to the positions of the colors in the spectrum, which is something that we read about on the end of last lecture. We had green, and then we have red and peach blossom that are also relevant. Peach blossom because it's here at the center of the lemniscate, and red because it's dropping out like an exchange, like the green that goes to color the sphere is equalized by this loss of redness. And what about the head of the girl? Let's call
it
it
looks like an ear. Looks like an ear to me.
Well, definitely a spiral shape going on there.
Can you see the moon? The moon symbol. In her head.
It's a lot of different. It could be every
lots of different moons. Yeah,
could
all
be
of them could be
every
moons.
single phase of the moon. If you want to step back,
it could be.
Yeah, I see something different in You mean these parts?
What moon are you referring to a crescent moon on the outer circle?
I'm referring to a crescent moon in the inner circle.
Okay,
Can you see it?
yeah.
While I also see an Ouroboros that's been split, like here. The definition is not good enough, maybe, but I can recognize the Ouroboros worm because it's half colored in a way and half in a darker, like, you know, in traditional images of the Ouroboros, but it's not eating its tail. It's like it's been opened up.
Mm-hmm.
And then I see 3 surfaces with interesting topological qualities. I see an open sphere. Then I see an open sphere whose inner side is visible, and I see another half sphere whose outer side is visible. And I see an intermediate surface that goes from being convex to being concave. This one. So let's say a concave, one that goes from concave to convex, and a convex. It's in my eyes, or do you see it too?
It's not popping for me.
Difficult to say if it's all of them, but definitely the one in the center, so to say, in between the 2 outer and 2 inner. I can definitely see a convex and concave polarity there. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, this one, you see, it's like just an open egg whose other part bigger is this one. The other 2 parts are not changing from convex to concave, while this middle one is. Do you have some?
I was thinking it's interesting when you were asking if this eye sees the girl.
Yeah.
For me, it's interesting that it seems that this girl or female figure is the least conscious of all the other beings here. It's an elegant poise. She almost seems to be dancing on top of the serpent and balancing, but quite unaware of what's going on. There's a lot of, there's a serpent around her. There's a lot of power around her. So just this contrast.
Yeah, she's like very graceful.
Yeah.
And like not nervous about anything.
Seems to be in her own world.
And do you see another lemniscate here? Half lemniscate. Quite hard to see. You see that this kind of I don't know how to call it, it's part of the lions. How do you call the crown of the lion? Sorry?
The mane, is that what you mean?
The mane, yeah, maybe it's part of the lower part of the mane, but you see here we get the whole curl. But here, what's going on there? Can you see it? The other half lemniscate. Darker. Like a heart. Can you see that?
Yeah,
No?
it could be.
There is a straight line from the apex vertex of this dark lemniscate, the apex of this lemniscate, and the apex of this lemniscate. They lie on a straight line. Okay, maybe I'm a bit overwhelming you. It's not really good then this way. Then does anything else come to your attention?
Is
Hopefully
the
y'all
is
can go back.
I'm questioning whether the serpent changes into that pole thing. It looks like the pole that's in the middle of a fire station that the firemen slide down. That you can see that thing in the top. Does the serpent actually turn into that, and then does that go into the eye? Is that all a continuous being with all these different aspects?
Is that eye the same eye we are looking out of?
I'm just wondering about the attachment of the beings to each other, whether you think that they're separate or if they're all mingling.
Difficult to say. It's like the
Maybe.
intention is there, but there's something about how the drawing is made that doesn't make it exactly clear.
Maybe it's both things. It's like part of the human being. Like maybe something is representing, let's say, intuition, while something else is representing intellect. Something is perception. Something is representation. So they work as different entities, but at the same time they belong to the same I. I don't know, with EYE or just I. It's really both.
Something I've been struck by initially, it didn't occur to me that the stars were like differentiated and specific, or like concrete, not just like a random allotment of stars, and that this is perhaps the zodiac. And so I'm just curious if that's the case, like trying to recognize the constellations, or what, like how the wheel is turned is a question for me.
You see that the wheel is divided into sections of different colors.
Oh,
Right.
yeah.
Each section is 6 by 3. There are 12 sections, so it's 72 rows, and you can see that each group of 6 by 3 is a zodiacal sign, while then 2 blocks form a decan, and each block is then a group of 5 days. And we can maybe infer from the colors that we've got here an equinox represented. If this was the sun, but this could also be the sun, or maybe this could be the sun. See, I pointed out the fact that this cherubim is looking at different points with his 2 eyes, and he's kind of satisfied because he noticed something useful. And maybe it's the difference between this point and this point. You know, that in antiquity, the precession of the equinoxes was signaled by the movement of the star Spica, I guess. Not wholly sure, but anyway, yeah, we could say that we have a representation, amongst other things, of the precession of the equinoxes. Yeah, I see that. What about that blue and green topological form in the background behind the woman? Maybe it's time now to bring in some documents. Here is a book by well, this is actually made by the widow of another anthroposophist. Anyway, it's George Adams. This is his widow, Olive Wicker. Anyway, they work together, and this is stuff that came up many years after the painting was made. But no, well, before this, I can give you some background about the picture itself. This is the image of the universe, that is the world. So the last of the major arcana of a tarot deck. It's the tarot deck that was created by Aleister Crowley and Lady Frieda Harris during the years of the Second World War. This was completed in 1942. Lady Frieda Harris was a painter that and she was also an occultist, and she met Crowley and kind of pressed him to create this tarot deck. He didn't want, because he was lazy, but in the end he accepted, and then it became a very huge enterprise. It took them years to complete this. There's a deck and the book. While she was, even before painting the pictures, Crowley pretended from her that she attended a series of lectures from both, let's say, mainstream geometry classes, but also from anthroposophical geometry classes that were held in London about projective geometry by George Adams. So Lady Frieda Harris became a pupil of George Adams and Olive Wicker while she was working with Crowley. And we can see in this book that presents most of their work together, that we get many shapes that are found inside the tarot. We can see, for example, here methods or how to draw half lemniscate. I hope you see that. Maybe I'll stop sharing my screen. No. What is better if I have to show you something from the camera?
It's possible to just reduce the size. I mean, in everyone's Zoom, it's possible to reduce the size of the shared screen.
Yeah.
It's like exit full screen. Is that what you meant, Alex?
Yeah, you can have a split view.
Because this is, I imagine, very, very small, isn't it? Can you see anything? Wait, I will pause share, stop share. Okay. Can we maybe it's up to you singularly to switch your Zoom to
So that the speaker is visible.
so that the speaker is full screen. Oh, okay, thank you. So for example, here, can you see the description of how to draw the half lemniscate, that drop? Do you see it?
Yes, yes, we see it. Yeah.
Okay. But then there are more interesting stuff. For example, that topological surface inside the sphere, it actually comes from a very rare picture of what is called a buoy surface. Here you have both a front and a lateral image. What we are dealing here is the frontal image. Can you recognize it?
Yeah, absolutely. What did you say it was called again, Lorenzo?
This is a surface of buoy. This is very relevant because the surface of buoy is what the projective plane turns into if you want to keep the lines continuous. That is, if you want that the plus infinite on the upper side of the plane and the lower infinite side of the plane stick together, and the right side and the left side stick together, you can't do that as a simple sphere. Because if you have a line that's coming up diagonally this way, it comes up from below with the opposite inclination to make it continuous. So topology discovered that actually the projective plane, when seen all together, is like the surface of the surface of buoy, which is this shape. I have a model here, a 3D model. You see, it's it has a tripole geometry. It's a very important topological shape. Here is a book. This is not an easy book, but if you want to, but it gives you definitions. So if you read it carefully from the start, you can understand. It's by Francois Apéry. He is a very important topologist. And now, as you see, the image that we were looking at. Let me see if I can take it. No, wait. Before, yeah, I will go there. Okay, we can see that we get almost the same exact image, but something fishy is going around here with this part, because this lemniscate should be on the other side. So it's that same photograph, but they did something with it. They took a third of that image and they managed to link it with the rest, with its specular image, so that the lines are continuous. I will show to you another collage, a photographic collage that I made. If I manage to. A second. Okay. I will share my screen again. This is just a rough collage I made, but can you see what they did? They made a collage between the image and the part of the image that's the specular image of that, and then they painted it. And inside, yeah, do you recognize it? So this is very, very mysterious. I see that it's already 7 p.m. So maybe I will try to sum it up with just a few considerations. There is a sphere here, and this sphere represents the three-dimensional universe we believe in and that we move in, so our ontology. And this ontology we continuously draw from a two-dimensional image. That's the 2D bottleneck I was speculating about last time. So this means that there must be some kind of translation from the level of perception, the level of semiotics, two dimensions, and the level of ontology. And to do that, then you have to go through a surface of Boy. That is, what you see must be related to a sphere, and to do that is what we believe in, the three-dimensional world. So we see an image 2D, we believe in a 3D world. In between, there must be a Boy surface and a sphere, and they are linked to one another. And this could be this is the meaning, I think, of the presence of the surface of Boy there. But we don't have just Euclidean space. We have all the continuum of geometries that are represented by the different Cassini curves. And what we see here is that one of the thirds of the, and we get 3 dimensions. So this could be a reference to depth. One of the dimensions of this 2D to 3D transformation is flipped by the girl by 180 degrees. And this makes the world colorful. And this is, in Crowley's mind, the positive idea of a new age that is coming. And what is different is that science manages to see also counter space. That is, the space that on the continuum of Cassini curves is opposite, 180 degree opposite to the Euclidean reconstruction of space. I know this is very synthetic. Maybe surely we'll talk about it again, but I thought it was nice to look at this now that we've looked at Cassini curves and that we are midway through the astronomy curves, because I think this gives a lot of direction. And also one last point. In last chapter, Steiner was looking for a way to represent the continuous transformation that went to infinity, and that it was impossible to represent on a finite plane, on a finite image. Well, Crowley, I think, managed to do that. That is, this image here is probably, I think so, a perspective with 6 vanishing points. That is, a perspective of a sphere. What you when you reach one end of the image, you can go straight to the other side, and that's the whole, because it's this would take some more time. Maybe we'll talk again about it, but it's like the sphere here, the green sphere, is already vanishing points. I mean, it already goes from the origin to the infinite when you reach the edge of the green sphere, and then the distorted part, it's like the other 180 degrees. So one using a 6-point perspective as a structure of the grid, they can represent functions continuously. Exactly what Steiner was lamenting as something that had to be possible even if nobody knew how. So I think this image is the answer. And yeah, it's already late. Sorry, but does it make sense to you? What are the points that really were too obscure? Maybe I will say something and then maybe talk again next time.
That was great. I'm still in the process of learning about these things, so there's just a lot of foundation that I lack, so it's hard for me to even begin to comment on what isn't, I guess, what you could elaborate on next time. But I was curious, when you were talking about this opposition between the Euclidean representation of space and this other version, do you think that's why that square is in the picture behind the head?
Well, I think that that's the part that defined by the ray, the big ray, that's been well, no, so sorry. Let's start from the crooked ray. You see the hook or the sickle. One can imagine that all these rays that are coming out of the eyes, they are straight rays to infinity. They are vanishing points, and they are, by the way, the same stuff that goes out of the mouths and nostrils of the cherubims, and they are differently divided, but the number of rays, it's the same. These are the minor arcana, the 40 usual cards, and what she's doing is she's turning 180 degree his very sight. She's moving, she's taking the ray that is representing the sight of the eye, and she's turning it 180 degree like a handle, so that it goes back to the point where it was looking, or maybe one should say so that it goes back to the point where the eye is looking at now, but in a different time. Also, one other thing that I'd like to add is that these things that we were looking at around the egg, well, this egg can be understood as the backside or the inner side of the Orphic egg. The Orphic egg represents possibility. Ananke is necessity, and draws on the egg the lines that things have to follow, necessity. Well, that's Euclidean space. The shell of the egg is Euclidean space, while the inside of the Orphic egg, what is impossible to see, it is shown by this picture, and it's represented as those lines of Cassini curves that go towards, through non-Euclidean geometries, to that geometry which is the opposite one to Euclidean geometry, represented by the pitch boson point there, which is counter space. And counter space is, let's say, if you oppose a straight grid. Sorry, I will stop sharing and I will, okay. Can you see this? This is another book by George Adams, the anthroposophist geometer. And you can see here, this is how a Euclidean plane, let's say a Cartesian plane, gets transformed into by I mean, in counter space. These are the lines that explain the connectivity of levity, that hard to imagine. Sucking force. How does a force come from the periphery? Well, with counterspatial geometry, we can think about that. And we can see that these lines are the same lines of the grid that was behind the image we were looking at. And yeah, it's getting very late. I don't want to.
Great stuff, Lorenzo.
Thank
Thanks
you.
a lot.
Thank you. It's really nice to share this stuff. You know, I've been studying this stuff for years, but it's not something that you can go out and talk about with people. It's you have somebody to come to lecture 9 of the astronomy course just to make sense of the topic.
Well, George Adams.
So that twisting motion that you're talking about, is that's the same as going on here? Is that? You've gone silent.
Can we switch the visualization? Sorry, so that I see you.
This. Oh, sorry, the camera's down here. So it's. Hold on.
Yeah.
I know that twisting motion that you were talking about. It's the same sort of like. You're saying so like the sucking is coming from this twisting motion that's being created by the counter space.
I think that the grid is useful to treat a force that's peripheral, that's coming from the outside, as it was actually coming from a point, because here it's like you see it as a point, but you could think about it as the sphere, the surface of the sphere, the furthest points from this point, which should be a set of points that's a spherical surface. You know, the periphery that's as far as possible, so an infinite far away sphere. But through this geometry, we can treat the faraway sphere as if it was another point.
When you show me that, I'm thinking about like the description of magnetic lines around a magnet and around the Earth. It's like exactly that same twisting motion.
It's the Larmor effect, because the magnet itself, it's like a torus.
Mm. But they're not sort of like straight lines that go like that, are they? They are sort of like twisting lines.
That happens when you use like a ferrocell. You know, that ferrofluid.
Mm-hmm.
You get, what you see is not the magnetic field. What you see is the reflection of particles of iron suspended in the fluid, and they move and they change orientations following the magnet field. But you always get a projective orthogonal to the field. That's why you get the counter spatial geometry, but that's actually something that comes from the interaction of the magnet field, and the individual particles, and the light that comes from the outside of the ferrocell. So you actually are twisting using the magnetic field to twist the position of these little mirrors, and so you get this image, which is a representation of counterspatial geometry, but that's not actually the shape of the field. If you're referring to the videos of Ken Wheeler, for example,
Yeah,
there's many things that are interesting, but he lies about some aspects. For example, he treats what the image that is seen below the ferrocell as it was an image of the field itself. Well, that's a transformation of the field, but it's very interesting nonetheless.
Thanks.
Thank you. Yeah, I see in the chat there's a very contemporary rendition of the Boy's surface, and you see how different it is from what we were looking at, because that's a different formalization of the surface. This is further proof of how the tarot card was taken exactly from that very picture. That was the picture that the anthroposophists got from a book that was quite rare at the time and quite expensive. That's a German book that was out in 1903, and so they used that very picture, not just whatever surface of boy. Oh, here's a Adam's PDF. Okay, it's a 1:15. Thanks for everybody for participating and listening to my crazy speculations. And I don't know if nobody has anything more to add.
Really appreciate it. Thanks so much, Lorenzo, for feeding our minds.
Yeah.
Yes, great stuff, Lorenzo.
Cool. And well, all of you have my email address, so if you want, or we can maybe write the names of the books under the video if we publish. Are we going to publish this?
Sorry, the service is so bad. What did you say, Lorenzo?
Are we going to publish this on the channel?
Yeah. Would you like that?
Yeah. Very good. So we can maybe just write the names of the relevant books and stuff, and link some things below in the video. Very cool.
Great.
Okay.
Perfect. Thank you so much.